Last week on Overtime.
What makes you think that free will is not a thing?
For one, I ain't asked to be here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm serious. It's like, all right, I didn't ask to be here. So like the least.
But maybe you did though, but you just
That's
don't
what I'm
know
saying,
that.
and that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm getting to. Like, yo, like, what if, like, that's the reason why babies be crying because they're like, no,
I know, right? I know.
Babies be crying.
As far as free will, you don't have a choice until you have to make a choice.
Our universe is based upon laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You can't have free will and then live by laws because those laws govern your decisions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
so
see what you're saying.
That doesn't make any sense to me because and then you got to look at it from the perspective of, okay, if I'm born, which I didn't ask to be, now I'm born into free will. And so you're telling me either I live my life and go to heaven, or I live my life and like go to hell. And it's just like two extremes. And it's like, okay, I have to pick and choose, either go left or go right.
That's your point. I think what you're basically saying is like, how do we have free will if we have a God? You know what I'm saying? It's like God kind of creates the universe. He creates the laws of the universe. So it's like, if we live within God's law, how can we have free will? That's what it sounds like you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Do y'all think that we kind of already are in a one world government, basically? I mean, because the U.S. basically, everybody marches basically at the beat of the U.S. drum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I think the one world government is already, like, you know what I mean, the Vatican, Jesuit type thing. I think it's already been, you know, like, you know, everybody's in cahoots with each other, so it's already a one world government.
Yeah, that's my question. Yeah, that's my question. So it's already here.
Come on, man. One word. That's what it said. One world religion, one world government, one world military, like all that. And I think that might be also part of the reason why the overall morale of the police in like America is kind of like, oh, dismantle the police, defund the police, so we can usher into one standard all across the world. Because it's funny, the protest was happening all over the world. It wasn't just here.
Eve, do you think that Adam and Eve is them eating from the tree of knowledge and good and evil is a generational curse?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
like the longest. The biggest generational curse.
I mean, look, like I just said, the biggest. You're right though. But we went from the garden to fucking world, Ukraine and with Russia and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so what makes you think that shit gonna go away anytime soon? That's why when we had this conversation before, I feel like only an act of God could change this, because we clearly don't get it. Twitter is very powerful. I think kind of like the pulse of society is kind of expressed through Twitter. So I feel like if Elon Musk is trying to buy that, then I definitely think he's trying to put his hands on the control the culture pretty much, because
he said his plan is to bring free speech around the globe.
Around the globe.
Yeah. Globe. Keyword.
Exactly.
And this is the same person that has government contracts to leave the globe. Quotation marks. And he got that whole Starlink shit. He got like a bunch of fucking satellites in orbit, like as like damn near surveillance for real on the people. So
you know how like Twitter kind of ties into like the metaverse type shit. Maybe he's trying to get in on that. Yeah, get in on that aspect. I mean, because I'm pretty sure he wasn't gonna be able to buy Facebook.
Maybe it's data. Maybe he's purchasing it for data.
Ooh,
prices.
So like that whole like Elon shit is like kind of like dumb as fuck anyway. Because like, how you gonna try to take on? You're gonna try to take on a social media platform. So at that point, it's gonna be pretty much Wild Wild West. Like, you're gonna have to put your foot down at some point, right? You could say it's free speech, but at some point, it's like, you know what I'm saying? You could say the most wild shit. Like, oh, Elon, what the fuck? I thought this was, Elon's Twitter. Like, you could say anything you want. But at certain points, you can't say, oh, bro, you can't. You're doing too much. You know what I'm saying?
So what is it about Twitter that makes Twitter like this? Because I think the purpose of free will is that, you know, we live within God's law, but you have the option to break those laws, and through you breaking those laws, there's a cause and effect to that. So I think that that's where the lessons of life comes from you learning from those mistakes or those times when you went outside of God's will, and then you gained understanding. It's like kind of like, oh, now I'm coming closer to Him because I learned the mistakes from stepping outside of God's law.
It makes it seem as though God has like this ego. Like I'm gonna make people have free will so I could see how many come back to me. You know what I'm saying? Because why would you create?
Because we're in the body. That's the whole point of being human. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not spirits anymore. We're spirits in the body. And we have egos, you know what I'm saying? The spirit doesn't have an ego. Humans, we in this body, it gives us an ego. Through our ego, we learned, you know what I'm saying, from pretty much we can purify ourselves through our ego by learning from our ego, if that makes sense. It's like learning from the mistakes you would. Learning was like, okay, I was in spirit, I made a good decision. Right. Or I made a bad decision. I was in ego, I was in my body, I was in my feelings. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So it's like the same thing, I think. To leave the possibility, you know what I'm saying, of what could happen. It's like, all right, you have perfection, but it's like, okay, we wouldn't be able to expand. Our consciousness would not be able to reach further if we knew what perfection was. If we were all perfect and there was nothing else to learn, then the universe can't expand. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you need the what's it called? You need the antagonist. You need
you gotta have the balance.
You got to bring the balance, because if everything is perfect, we'll never learn shit. We'll never expand. It's just like a
sacred timeline.
The secret timeline is like, I think your sacred timeline is what you was put on earth to be, but you have the option of straying off that sacred timeline. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like you do have free will, but you know, I have you know, it's like if you do as you know, if you become the the optimal version of yourself to who I put you to be, then you will be blessed. You know?
Ultimately, like, you know, there's fate, and you have like one, like your story has already been written. Like, do you really have free will?
I mean, like I said,
I know,
yeah.
But it's like part of it is just even having this conversation and questioning. You know what I mean?
But maybe that'd be
part.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
That's true.
Or this is just that. This is the free will is the lesson that is supposed to be learned in this like dimension or whatever, like physical reality we live in now. Like that's just, you know, this is just level, you know, X, and then next level is something else. Do you think there's people in our world today that kind of infringe on our free will? Like they fucking with our food, or they fucking with our health with this virus and the solution to the virus. You know what I'm saying? They're forcing your hand, but not really. Like you always have a choice to not do the shit, but they kind of make it hard just because of like, you know, you're trying to survive in this like rat race. So they
know that we have to. They understand that we
by the
have
rules,
to
right?
make a choice.
That kind of proves free will.
Exactly. They understand we got to make a choice.
Yeah,
but what they've done a very, very good job.
So that proves it. All right,
making us feel, making us
like we feel like we have a choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
But they're ushering us
what they are gonna do.
Right. It also ties to that she always be saying when you be like talking about like how we have to give them permission in order for them to. So it's like they can't really force it on us. They have to manipulate us into, you know, giving them the permission to fuck us over pretty much. You know what I'm saying?
Determinism is in philosophy and science, the thesis that all events in the universe, including man's and humans' decisions and actions, are causally inevitable. Some philosophers have taken determinism to imply that individual human beings have no free will and cannot be held morally responsible for their actions. Do you guys think that free will could be taken from you?
Yeah,
of course. It's called prison.
Okay. So if it could be taken for you, are you then no longer liable for, you know what I'm saying? Like if I no longer have free will, as you just said, if it has been taken from me, then how can I be held accountable for my actions in the eyes of God if it's been taken from me?
You think like that Brooklyn shooting in that subway?
Very possible. Very possible. Very possible Manchurian Candidate, definitely.
And he seemed like just some regular.
They allowed him to have a YouTube channel and like say like racist shit. Like we can't say, we get hemmed up all the time for saying some slight shit. That's accurate.
Right. That's a good
So
point. That's a good observation.
Bureau knew he was on a terrorist watch list after an incident in New Mexico in 2019. So he was on a list.
They always on the list.
He posted ominous videos on YouTube about race and shootings. March 20, he announced he was leaving Wisconsin and will never be back again alive. Is that labeling you human? If you can give a machine free will, is that pretty much labeling you as a human? Or then you're going to be labeled as transhuman?
It's a transhuman.
Right. The moment you have free will.
Because you are no longer original. You are born like of the system. You are no longer born of the source. I'm sorry. You're born of the source, but you trans into something different. You're always born from the source.
If they create robots, there has to be some sort of source that's keeping them, there has to be something. And whatever that source is, it has to be man-made. Comes from spirit. So there's some cord out there that can be cut. Yeah. But it's just that the robots can probably learn how to protect that shit where we can never get to that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And that might be the ultimate punishment for us trying to play God. You know what I'm saying? What if
the ultimate cord is us?
If we get conquered by our own creation, that's crazy.
What if we are Xenobots? To some degree.
Interesting. Technically.
What are we looking at right here?
I'm sitting here staring at the shit. I don't know what the fuck going on.
It look like
I'm like, are those the little cream puffs that you get in the
so they're controlling it like it's I guess there's a controller that's making it do that.
I don't know, because it kind of look like it's moving like on its own.
On its own, yeah.
It's just programmed to go get whatever it is.
You give it the mission.
I see what you're saying. Damn, see, there's some like brilliant fucking people out here that just be making this type of shit.
Fucking like Eternals type, you know what I'm saying?
Like gatekeepers?
Yeah, like people, like angels dressed in.
Right. I would think those would be like quote unquote aliens. I think it would be like, fallen angels and shit like that. I don't believe in like green men and shit like that no more. Alive, Ho wouldn't be in this position. If Big had survived, y'all would have got the commission. So he would have been. I mean, like we kind of like always talk about this, barbershop shit. Like, would Jay-Z be Jay-Z if Big was alive? Pretty much.
Be Drake if Wayne wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, because obviously, I feel Wayne is a better rapper than Drake, but Drake is still
a better brand.
Yeah, Drake is a better brand than Wayne.
In the moment, globally, we get it right. We ascend.
Still I rise.
You mean like the whole world together as one ascend together?
Huh. Interesting.
I mean, all right, I put it like this. All right, do you think we're getting closer to a one world